The night was colder than it should have been. A sharp autumn wind rattled through the endless stretch of forest. The two-lane highway seemed to stretch into eternity. No cars behind, no cars ahead, only the hum of tires against cracked asphalt. Inside a black SUV, 5 college friends returned from a music festival, their laughter still lingering, though weariness dulled their voices. The glow of the dashboard clock read 2:47 a.m., a dangerous hour when the world feels wrong. Jason, the driver, squinted through the windshield, fog rising from the forest floor, headlights cutting a narrow path. His fingers tapped nervously on the steering wheel. Though he wouldn't admit it, he felt watched. Emily, sitting up front, fiddled with the radio, static, scratching no matter which station she turned to, snippets of voices bleeding through, whispers too soft to catch. She laughed nervously and switched it off. Silence fell heavier. In the back, Chris leaned against the window, his breath fogging the glass. He claimed he saw someone walking along the roadside, tall and thin, head tilted unnaturally. But when the others looked, the road was empty. They teased him until he fell silent. The SUV rattled as it hit a pothole, and then the engine coughed, lights dimmed. Jason swore under his breath as the vehicle slowed, stalling. In the middle of nowhere, no signal on the phones, no passing cars. The forest pressed closer in the dark, branches twisting like skeletal hands. The group sat in uneasy silence until Emily suggested checking the hood. Jason popped it open, steam hissed up like breath, and a foul metallic stench rose with it. Chris muttered that the smell wasn't from the engine, it was too rotten, too human, but no one wanted to answer him, their nerves already fraying. A crunch echoed from the woods, soft at first, then louder, deliberate footsteps circling just out of sight. The flashlights danced across the trees, shadows flickered, but nothing solid appeared. Then came the voice, faint, childlike, calling Jason's name, though none of them had introduced themselves to anyone on this road. The sound wrapped around them, bouncing from tree to tree, impossible to track. Panic set in. They decided to leave the SUV behind and walk toward the next town, 10 miles according to the broken GPS. Backpacks slung over shoulders, flashlights cutting through fog, their footsteps quickened. The road narrowed as the trees arched overhead, blocking the sky. No stars, no moon, just blackness, swallowing everything. The forest felt alive, breathing, waiting. Megan, the quietest of the group, whispered that the trees were leaning closer. She swore the path behind them no longer looked the same, but the others brushed her off, unwilling to believe the road itself was shifting. An old wooden sign appeared ahead, letters carved deep, but weather-worn. It read, Hollow Road, though none of them remembered it on the map. Beneath the name, smeared in something dark, was the phrase, No one leaves. Emily wanted to turn back, but the way behind had vanished, replaced by solid wall of trees. The forest rearranged itself like a living labyrinth. Their only choice was forward. The air grew colder, their breaths puffed white, and then they saw it, an abandoned house set back from the road, its windows black, roof sagging, but a lantern glowed faintly on the porch, swaying though no wind stirred. Reluctantly they stepped inside, floorboards groaning, wallpaper peeling in long strips, the smell of mildew and iron thick in the air. Their lights flickered as if resisting the space, shadows lengthened unnaturally. Photographs hung crooked on the walls, faces blurred, eyes scratched out, every frame smeared with something oily. And beneath the photos, words carved in the plaster, read, Stay until called. Suddenly the front door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Jason tugged the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The wood seemed to pulse under his grip, as if the house itself was breathing. They heard the footsteps again, this time upstairs, heavy, dragging, too slow to be human. Dust rained down from the ceiling. With each thud, Emily begged to leave. Chris grabbed a chair and smashed it against the door, but the wood absorbed the blow. Megan's flashlight caught movement at the top of the staircase, a figure hunched, bones jutting under pale skin, its head twisted too far to the side, mouth hanging open wider than any human jaw. And yet it smiled. The creature didn't walk. It jerked forward in unnatural spasms, limbs bending wrong, snapping with wet cracks as it descended, the sound of its joints scraping like glass. Jason shouted for everyone to run. They bolted through a hallway, doors slamming shut behind them one by one, forcing them deeper into the house, deeper into its gut. The group stumbled into the basement, the air thick with mold and rot, shelves lined with jars filled with cloudy liquid. Inside floated things that looked almost human, tiny faces pressed against glass, eyes moving. Chris gagged, Megan screamed, and then the light bulbs hanging above exploded, glass raining down, plunging them into blackness. Only their flashlights remained, beams shaking with their trembling hands. On the far wall, words dripped in fresh crimson, not paint, but blood, and the message read, 5 entered, 1 may leave. The floor lurched as though the house exhaled, a trapdoor yawned open, stairs spiraling downward into darkness. And before they could argue, the sound of crawling filled the basement, countless limbs skittering toward them. They had no choice but to descend. The air grew wetter, colder, the walls slick with something that clung to their skin. Their flashlights flickered again, revealing tunnels lined with bones. Megan whispered that the bones were fresh, not old, some still glistening, marrow dripping, as if gnawed by something large, something hungry. The tunnels twisted endlessly until they emerged into a cavern beneath the house, an altar carved from human skulls, candles burning with green flame, and chained to the altar was a mirror taller than a man. The mirror reflected not their bodies, but their fears. Jason saw himself drowning, lungs bursting. Emily saw herself hanging lifeless from a tree. Chris saw his skin peeling away. Megan saw herself alone in the void. Then the mirror spoke, voices overlapping, male and female, young and old, whispering, "Only one leaves, the rest must stay forever." Panic erupted, accusations flew, each afraid the others would sacrifice them. But before a choice could be made, the creature from upstairs dropped into the cavern, its jaw unhinging, shrieks piercing their skulls. They ran, scattering among the tunnels, the house itself shifting, twisting, closing paths, forcing them into dead ends until one by one the screams echoed, cut off abruptly. Megan, bloodied and shaking, found herself back in front of the mirror, her friends gone, their faces now staring at her from behind the glass, pounding silently as if begging her to join. The mirror whispered again, "Choose." And with trembling hands, she reached out, but instead of touching glass, her fingers sank into liquid darkness, pulling her inside. Morning came, the road was empty, the SUV sat abandoned, doors wide open, no sign of struggle except for 5 pairs of shoes, neatly placed by the roadside, each stained with blood. A passing truck slowed, the driver frowned, muttered about kids playing tricks, but as he drove on, his rearview mirror flickered, and for a split second, Megan's pale face smiled back at him from the back seat.